Hello my YouTube fam and welcome back to the channel. My name is Felicia and today I wanted to kind of expand a little bit on a video that I did a couple of weeks ago, which was about how to get started when you're a new filmmaker in the industry and how to freelance pretty much, and make a video more centered around how to get work in the film industry and different avenues you can take. The weather is actually really nice outside, so let's go. Are you going to interrupt me? Hello. Your contacts are the number one important thing in terms of freelancing. In an industry where it's all about word of mouth, it's terribly important to make a good impression each job you get. And those contacts that you make on jobs are very, very vital to getting more paid work in the future. If you work with somebody and you mesh with them really well, you get along with them, they think you're great, you think they're great, you're going to get more paid work out of them eventually in the future. They'll put your name forward for different jobs, and it's very important to maintain that connection with them. So your contacts are your number one port of call. But don't worry if you don't have any contacts or clients yet. I'd highly recommend maybe doing something for a friend or a family member, something that not is necessarily paid, it might not be paid, but it's still something to use to get work in the future. You just need to prove to people that you're able to do it and you're able to do it in a professional manner. The next thing I want to talk about is resume or showreel, and that can largely depend on the certain role that you're doing in film. If it is a job that is not as visual as other jobs, for instance being a producer, that might warrant actually having a written resume as well as a folio of different jobs to back that up. Now, I'm not saying that if you do have a visual job that a resume is completely redundant. I just find that it's not really the best method to get across your skills. Rather, a showreel or a collection of work via your Instagram or a website can help you more in terms of how to show somebody that you can produce that result. And if you're doing another job like a director or something that is visual but also not, you can also back that up with a resume and with the references. I find it very strange when I see jobs advertised that are for a cinematographer and they're asking specifically for a written resume. Now, I personally used to have a written resume, but now I don't. I found that it just didn't really mesh with what I needed to apply for a job. It was more about the visual content, so now I just provide a reel and any information about projects that I'm currently working on. Now, I'm not saying that all cinematographers don't have resumes, some do, and it works for them, but it is really just what works for you. So I'd recommend maybe trying it out a few times, and if you feel like it's something that will mesh with the way that you work, then go for it. But ultimately, I don't think you need a resume for something so visual. The third tip that I want to talk about is frequenting social media pages and groups. Now, most of my work recently has been through finding people on social media, and there are heaps of groups out there specific to film that can help you find a job. So it's definitely an amazing space to keep an eye on for jobs. Also, maintaining your activity on these groups can allow you to be the first in that person's mind when they're looking for somebody, and it can also make you visible to potential clients. This all keeps coming back to self-promotion. The fourth and final thing I want to talk about is don't be afraid to work your way up. It's very, very, very rare to see somebody jump straight out of film school and straight into a high-end cinematography role, or somebody just jump straight in and become a top-tier director. Sometimes those people don't realize how lucky they are. Often people have to work their way up through the ranks. I started as a camera assistant and then I moved into cinematography. I did camera assisting for 5 years, and that's not as long as other people did, and it's more and more like that now. Way back when, you probably did have to stay a lot longer as an assistant before you jumped into doing full-time cinematography or camera operating, and there was a very regimented way about it. But nowadays you'll see that that sort of thing doesn't really exist. People can jump forward whenever they want. Although I do really highly recommend to start at the bottom and kind of work your way through the ranks if you feel like it, and then when you feel like it's time to move on, move on. It is vital in your learning processes to learn more about your crew and more about your team before moving on, because that way I feel like you can problem solve a lot quicker, a lot faster, and that is a vital asset on set. It is really important to remember a few things though. It's a very fine line deciding when to make that leap, and it's different for everybody. But if you feel it's right, it probably is. If you see, like in my case, you're getting more shooting work now, maybe it is time to make that leap. If you feel like assisting maybe isn't for you anymore, you don't feel motivated in assisting and you want to move on, maybe it's time to make that leap. You have to work out what's viable for you and your situation and your career path. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you got something out of it. I know it's very similar to the video that I did do a few weeks ago, but I hope that it did expand on some things for you and maybe teach you a few new things about where to find work in the industry. If you did enjoy the video, please remember to give it a big fat thumbs up, and if you would like to see more of my face and learn a little bit more about filmmaking in the process, remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next Sunday.